In this last Excel tutorial, we'll use our Excel spreadsheets to figure out how many individual fish were marked in each of the 3 years showed up at these 3 dams as juveniles and as adults. I've already formatted these 2 spreadsheets so that they have grid lines. I've converted my mark and event years to numbers, and I have not yet frozen that top pane. Okay, so in this juvenile spreadsheet, we need to sort this time, or we need to count individuals based on 2 different criteria. That's the year in which they were marked and the 3 dams at which they were observed. Again, like I said, there are lots and lots of different ways to do this. I'm just going to show you one way that will hopefully introduce you to some useful Excel skills. First, what we're going to do is sort on the year in which these fish were marked. So there's 3 separate years, and we're going to sort all of the data based on what's happening in this column. To do that, I'm going to highlight by clicking and holding down the Shift key, all of the data that I have. The only reason that I'm doing this instead of highlighting the entire spreadsheet, which you can do here, is that when you do that the ladder thing, you lose, it also sorts your names of your columns. So here we're going to retain the names of our columns. So now that that's highlighted, we're going to go to the Data tab and click on Sort. And now it's going to bring up this list that says, what would you like to sort by? Column. We're going to choose Mark Year as our sort by column. You could order it smallest to largest or largest to smallest, whatever you want. Click OK. And then this Mark Year here is sorted from 2008 to 2010. Now that that's done, I can just scroll down and see where that transition occurs. Right in here somewhere. All of the fish above this were marked in 2008. And now I could do something fancy like copy each year and move them into separate spreadsheets by adding into separate tabs by adding another tab or something like that. I'm going to be lazy and do it all in the same spreadsheet. Now, what we could do is we could just count the number of observations in each one of these sections of years based on this entire very long event site code. Or we could learn a couple tricks in Excel that will shorten these names. So that's what I'm going to do, mostly just so you guys are learning different skills in Excel. I'm going to insert 2 columns here, and I'm only doing this because I personally like to keep all of my information side by side. I'm going to manipulate this particular column. And what I want to do is I want to just highlight those site codes. That's what I want to count. So to separate this, I'm going to highlight the column, then I'm going to go to the Data tab and click on this Text to Columns icon. Now you can separate out your text into various columns based on a delimiter, like a comma, or if you had a CSV file, or any number of different things. Here we're just going to use fixed width. I click Next, and these lines are where Excel is going to break a single column into multiple columns. And basically I'm going to get rid of this dash because it's not useful. And here you can specify the format that you want the output to be in. In our case it doesn't matter, so we'll just click Finish. And it thinks there's data in these 2 columns, but there's not. Perfect. Now we have separated our event code, and I'm going to change that title so I can keep track of what I'm doing. And I'm going to delete this row, this column with the dashes in it, because it doesn't serve any purpose for us. Super. Now I can go in and I can add a break. And I can count from here on up. These are all the fish that were marked in 2008 at each of these locations. So I can count at Lower Granite. I can use our same COUNTIF function. From here, all the way to the top. And our criteria in this case, because it's writing and not a number, we need to put it in parentheses. I'm going to count how many of these observations occurred at Lower Granite, GRJ. Close your parentheses, and then hit return. 82 observations at Lower Granite. I can do the same thing for McNary and Bonneville, except that remember that Bonneville, we have two different observation locations. We have the Bonneville Corner Collector and what was it called? B2J. So we need to count each one of those and then sum these up. So remember that I can copy this down and then go ahead and change this code to MCJ and BCC B2J. And to get the total count at Bonneville Dam, we're going to sum these two, which in this case is really easy math. Terrific. Now we can do that exact same thing. We can use this information to populate our spreadsheet of interest here. The thing we can do is copy this. We can paste it right here as values, and then I can easily copy this into my new spreadsheet. And then remember that we need to add the B2J observation in here. And you could go ahead and do that now for observations in 2009 and 2010. The last thing that we want to do is then to come in and count the observations at Bonneville, McNary, and Lower Granite as adult passage. So once again, I've already formatted my adult observations, and we only have 36, so that really should be pretty easy. We can do pretty much the exact same thing for the adults. However, I do want to point out one caveat with the adult data. Those adults are migrating upstream, and if we look at this particular fish, it's a good example. Remember, they're coming from the ocean, so they pass Bonneville first. And really all we're interested in is the number of fish that were tagged in 2008 that passed Bonneville, past that dam at a later date. In this particular case, this fish here passed Bonneville only in 2011 in a single year. These aren't different years, but it passed two different pit tag detectors. It went up the Cascade Island side and the Washington ladder. And so what might have happened is this fish started to go up one ladder, decided it didn't like it, and it went back down and looked for another place to come upstream. And so I'll just tell you right now that there are 3 of these repeats in our data set. So you're going to need to be careful of those and weed the duplicates out. There are quite a few sort of fancy ways that we could weed out those duplicates, but for now, because there's only 3, I'll just let you sort that out on your own. That should be enough information to get you well into your homework assignment and on your way to a good grade. Good luck.